You disgusting!
You're disgusting. I can't even look at you anymore, my husband said, throwing his wedding ring on the kitchen counter. I'm done pretending I'm attracted to someone who's let herself go this badly. Before I tell you how those words shattered my world and what happened when he discovered the truth, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, could you ever forgive someone who abandoned you at your lowest point? Because what I'm about to share will make you question everything about love, loyalty, and the lies we tell ourselves. My name is Sarah. I'm 42 years old, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had a good marriage. Not perfect, but good. Mark and I had been together for 15 years, married for 12. We met when I was thin, size 6 actually. I remember the exact dress I wore on our first date, a little black number that hugged every curve. He couldn't take his eyes off me that night, but life happens. 2 pregnancies, a miscarriage that sent me spiraling into depression. My mother's death from cancer. I spent 6 months by her bedside, eating hospital cafeteria food and whatever I could grab between her chemo sessions. The weight crept on slowly at first, then faster. 10 pounds became 20. 20 became 50. 50 became... Well, by the time Mark left me, I was 280 pounds. I knew I'd gained weight. Of course I knew. Every morning I avoided the full-length mirror in our bedroom. I'd dress in the dark, choosing the same rotation of black clothes that hid my body. But I thought love was supposed to be deeper than dress sizes. I thought for better or worse meant something. The signs were there before that final night. The way he'd turn his face when I tried to kiss him, offering his cheek instead of his lips. How he started working late 4 nights a week. The gym membership he bought himself, but not me. I didn't think you'd use it, he said. The way he'd flinch if I reached for his hand in public. But that night, our anniversary night, everything exploded. I'd made his favorite dinner, lasagna from his mother's recipe, Caesar salad, garlic bread. I'd even bought a new dress, size 22, navy blue with little flowers. I felt pretty for the first time in months. I'd gotten my hair done, put on makeup, even painted my nails. He came home late, of course. I heard his car in the driveway at 9:47 p.m. I know because I'd been watching the clock since 6 when dinner was ready. When he walked in, he didn't even look at the candles I'd lit or the table I'd set with our wedding china. We need to talk, he said, and my stomach dropped. You know that feeling, don't you? When your body knows bad news is coming before your brain catches up? I sat down heavily. Everything I did was heavy then, and waited. He paced around the kitchen, running his hands through his hair. Mark was still handsome at 44, salt and pepper hair, runner's body. He'd actually gotten better looking with age while I hadn't. I can't do this anymore, Sarah. I've tried. God knows I've tried. But I'm not attracted to you at all. It's like being married to my sister or a roommate, a really large roommate. The words hit like physical blows. Really large roommate. I felt my cheeks burn with shame. I know I've gained weight, I started, but he cut me off. Gained weight? Sarah, you've doubled in size. You're enormous. Do you know how embarrassing it is when people see us together? They wonder what I'm doing with you. Hell, I wonder what I'm doing with you. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up completely. Tears ran down my face, probably ruining the makeup I'd spent 40 minutes applying. Last week, he continued, at the company picnic, Brad asked if you were pregnant. Pregnant? I had to tell him no. That's just how you look now. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? So you're leaving me because I'm fat? I managed to whisper. I'm leaving because you've given up. Because you don't care about yourself or how you look or how this affects me. Because I'm 44 years old and I don't want to spend the rest of my life celibate, pretending I'm okay with this. He gestured at my body like it was something contaminated. That's when he threw his ring on the counter. The sound it made, that tiny metallic clink, echoed in my head for months afterward. I've already signed a lease on an apartment. I'll come get my things this weekend when you're at work. Mark, please. We can work on this. I'll lose the weight. It's too late, Sarah. Even if you lost it all tomorrow, I can't unsee what you've become. Every time I look at you, all I see is weakness and failure. He left that night with just a suitcase. 15 years reduced to a suitcase and a ring on a counter. The next months were the darkest of my life. I barely left the house except for work. I'd come home to our empty bedroom. He'd taken his dresser, his nightstand, even his reading lamp, leaving weird gaps like missing teeth. I'd eat dinner standing over the sink, then crawl into bed at 7 p.m. because being awake hurt too much. My sister Emma tried to help. She'd come over with salads and motivational speeches. "The best revenge is looking good," she'd say. "Show him what he's missing." But I couldn't find the energy to care about revenge. I just wanted to disappear. The divorce papers came on a Tuesday. I signed them without reading them. What was the point? He'd made it clear. I was too fat to love. I found out he was dating someone new through Facebook. Isn't that always the way? Her name was Brittany. 28 years old, yoga instructor. Looked like she'd never eaten a carb in her life. In their photos together, Mark looked happier than he had in years, his hand on her tiny waist, her blonde hair catching the sun, comments from his friends. "Upgrade! She's a keeper! You look so happy!" Each photo was a knife twist. I stopped eating for 3 days, then binged until I threw up. I was spiraling and I knew it. That's when the headaches started. At first I ignored them. Stress, I figured. Who wouldn't have headaches after being told they were too disgusting to love? But they got worse. Blinding pain that made me see stars. Dizzy spells at work. One morning I fainted in the shower and woke up with a gash on my forehead from hitting the faucet. Emma dragged me to the doctor. "You're probably just dehydrated from crying so much," she said, trying to make me laugh. But Dr. Martinez didn't laugh when she saw my test results. "Sarah, I need to run more tests, but I'm seeing some concerning numbers here. Your cortisol levels are extremely elevated. Have you been under significant stress?" I almost laughed. Significant stress? My husband had left me for being too fat to love. I'd say that qualified. The MRI revealed the truth. A tumor on my adrenal gland. Cushing's syndrome, it was called. For possibly years, this tumor had been flooding my body with cortisol, causing massive weight gain, the depression, the fatigue, everything. The weight wasn't my fault. It was never my fault. This explains everything, Dr. Martinez said, showing me the scan. The rapid weight gain, the difficulty losing weight despite dieting, the mood changes. Your body has been fighting against you this whole time. I stared at that little white spot on the scan. The tumor that had destroyed my marriage. Such a small thing to cause such massive destruction. Surgery was scheduled for 6 weeks later. In the meantime, I started treatment to manage the cortisol levels. The weight began dropping off almost immediately. 10 pounds the first week alone. But it wasn't satisfying the way I'd imagined weight loss would be. It was just sad. Proof that Mark had been wrong about everything. I didn't tell him. Part of me wanted to call him immediately to scream, "It wasn't my fault, I was sick." But a bigger part of me realized it didn't matter. He'd shown me who he was. He'd abandoned me when I needed him most, been cruel when he could have been kind. A tumor might explain the weight, but it didn't excuse his cruelty. The surgery went perfectly. Dr. Martinez removed the tumor, benign thankfully, and my body began to heal. The weight continued to fall off. 20 pounds, 40, 60. My face re-emerged from the puffiness. My energy returned. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. But I was a different self now, stronger. I'd survived abandonment, cruelty, and major surgery. I'd learned I could rely on myself when everyone else walked away. 8 months after he left, I was down 120 pounds and feeling healthy for the first time in years. I'd started therapy to deal with the emotional trauma. I joined a support group for people with Cushing's syndrome. I was healing in every sense of the word. That's when I ran into them. I was at Whole Foods, reaching for organic strawberries. I could eat fruit again without my cortisol levels going haywire, when I heard his voice. "Sarah?" I turned slowly. Mark stood there with Brittany, who was even tinier in person. His eyes went wide as he took me in. I was wearing jeans, real jeans, not elastic waist ones, and a simple white t-shirt, size 10, not skinny but healthy, normal. "Oh, hi, Mark." I kept my voice neutral, polite, like he was someone I'd known once long ago. You look. He couldn't finish the sentence. Behind him, Brittany shifted uncomfortably, clearly recognizing me from whatever he'd told her. "Healthy," I supplied. "I look healthy because I am." "How did you... what?" He was stuttering, this man who'd been so articulate when listing my flaws. "I had a tumor," I said simply, "on my adrenal gland. It was causing something called Cushing's syndrome. Massive weight gain, depression, fatigue. All those things you found so disgusting about me. They were symptoms of a serious medical condition." The color drained from his face. "A tumor? Sarah, I didn't know. You never said..." "I didn't know either. Not until after you left. Funny how being abandoned by your husband frees up a lot of time for doctor's appointments." Brittany tugged on his arm. "Mark, we should go. The movie starts soon." But he wasn't moving. He was staring at me like he was seeing a ghost. "Sarah, can we talk? Maybe get coffee?" "No." The word came out firm, final. "We're divorced, remember? You made your choice. You decided I was too fat to love, too disgusting to stay married to. You don't get to change your mind now that I'm an acceptable size. That's not... I didn't mean. Even if you lost it all tomorrow, I can't unsee what you've become," I quoted back to him. "Those were your words, Mark, and you were right about one thing. You can't unsee it, but neither can I. I can't unsee how you treated me when I was sick and needed you most." I turned to Brittany, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the organic produce. "Good luck with him. I hope you never get sick or gain weight or have anything happen that makes you less than perfect, because now you know what he'll do." I left them standing there and finished my shopping. My hands were shaking as I loaded my car, but I felt something I hadn't felt in over a year, proud of myself, not for losing weight, but for finding my voice. Mark called that night, and the next night, and the next. I didn't answer. He left voicemails, apologies, explanations, pleas to meet and talk. In one particularly pathetic message, he actually cried, saying he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. Emma listened to them with me over wine one evening. "Are you going to call him back?" she asked. "No, he showed me who he is. When someone shows you who they are, believe them." "But he didn't know you were sick." "That's exactly the point," I said. "He didn't know. He didn't care enough to wonder why his wife of 12 years suddenly gained weight. He didn't think, maybe something's wrong, maybe she needs help. He thought, she's gross now, I'm leaving. What happens the next time life gets hard? What if I get cancer like Mom? What if I'm in an accident? What if I just get old? Marriage isn't just for the Instagram-worthy moments." She nodded slowly. "You're right. God, you're so right. I'm proud of you." The calls eventually stopped. I heard through mutual friends that he and Brittany broke up a few months later. Apparently she couldn't get past what I'd said in the grocery store. Good for her. I continued healing. The weight stabilized at a healthy place. I started dating again, slowly, carefully, with men who proved they could see beyond the surface. I told them about the Cushing's syndrome early on. If they couldn't handle the idea that my body might change due to circumstances beyond my control, better to know immediately. A year and a half after that grocery store encounter, I was at a medical conference. I'd become an advocate for Cushing's syndrome awareness when I saw him again, Mark, sitting alone at the hotel bar, looking older and tired. He saw me before I could escape. "Sarah, please, just 5 minutes." Maybe it was closure I needed. Maybe I was just curious. I sat down, but didn't order anything. "I know you hate me," he began. "I don't hate you, Mark. I nothing you. That's worse, isn't it?" He flinched. "I deserve that. I deserve worse. I've had a lot of therapy since everything. I understand now how cruel I was, how shallow, how I failed you as a husband. Okay. I loved you once, really loved you. But somewhere along the way, I let society's beauty standards matter more than our vows. I let my ego, my embarrassment, my superficiality destroy the best thing in my life. Okay. Is that all you're going to say?" I thought about it. "What do you want me to say, Mark? That I forgive you? I do actually. Not for you, but for me. Carrying anger is too heavy, and I've carried enough heavy things. But forgiving isn't forgetting, and it definitely isn't reconciling. I know I destroyed any chance of that. I wanted you to know that I understand now what I lost. Not just the weight loss, that's not what I mean. I lost a partner who would have stood by me through anything. I see that now. I threw away real love for nothing." "You threw it away for a yoga instructor named Brittany," I corrected, and almost smiled at his wince. "She left me when she realized I was the kind of man who would abandon his sick wife. Said she couldn't trust someone like that." Smart girl. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I stood up. "I hope you learned something, Mark. I hope the next woman you claim to love gets the better version of you. The one who understands that bodies change, that life is messy, that love means showing up especially when things get hard." "Sarah, wait. Is there really no chance? We had 15 years together. Doesn't that count for something?" I looked at this man I'd once promised to love forever. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. Not physically. He was still fit, still conventionally attractive. But something essential was missing, had maybe always been missing. "Those 15 years taught me something valuable," I said. "They taught me the difference between someone who loves you and someone who loves the idea of you. You loved the size 6 version of me, the trophy wife who made you look good. When I stopped being that, your love evaporated. That's not real love, Mark. That's ownership." "I loved you." "You loved what I represented. Young, thin, decorative. The minute I became human, with a human body that changed, you were disgusted. Do you know what love actually looks like? It looks like my friend Carol's husband shaving her head when chemo took her hair, telling her she was the most beautiful woman in the world. It looks like my neighbor Tom, who learned to cook when his wife's arthritis made it too painful for her to stand at the stove. It looks like staying when someone needs you, not running because they embarrass you at company picnics." His eyes filled with tears. Real tears this time, not the manipulative ones from his voicemails. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm so fucking sorry." "I know you are, and I hope that means something for your future. But our story is over. You ended it the night you threw your ring on our kitchen counter and called me disgusting. Some words you can't take back. Some abandonment you can't undo." I left him there at the bar and went up to my hotel room. I had a presentation the next morning about early detection of endocrine disorders. My life had purpose now, beyond being someone's acceptable-sized wife. That night, I ordered room service, salmon and vegetables, but also chocolate cake, because I could eat what I wanted now without fear of judgment. and thought about the journey that had brought me here. The pain had been unbearable at times. There were nights I'd wished I could just disappear, cease to exist rather than be the fat woman whose husband found her repulsive. But I'd survived. More than survived. I discovered who I really was when everything else was stripped away. I'd learned that my worth had nothing to do with the number on a scale or the size of my jeans. I'd learned that real love doesn't have weight limits. The conference went beautifully. I shared my story with a room full of medical professionals, emphasizing how my husband's cruelty had actually delayed my diagnosis. If he'd approached my weight gain with concern instead of disgust, we might have discovered the tumor years earlier. How many other people, I wondered, were suffering from undiagnosed conditions while their loved ones blamed them for letting themselves go? After my presentation, a woman approached me. She was probably 300 pounds, tears streaming down her face. "My husband says the same things to me," she whispered, "that I'm disgusting, that I've given up. But I haven't given up. I've tried everything, every diet, every exercise program. Nothing works." She left me when she realized I was the kind of man who would abandon his sick wife. Said she couldn't trust someone like that. Smart girl. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I stood up. "I hope you learned something, Mark. I hope the next woman you claim to love gets the better version of you. The one who understands that bodies change, that life is messy, that love means showing up especially when things get hard." "Sarah, wait. Is there really no chance? We had 15 years together. Doesn't that count for something?" I looked at this man I'd once promised to love forever. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. Not physically. He was still fit, still conventionally attractive. But something essential was missing, had maybe always been missing. "Those 15 years taught me something valuable," I said. "They taught me the difference between someone who loves you and someone who loves the idea of you. You loved the size 6 version of me, the trophy wife who made you look good. When I stopped being that, your love evaporated. That's not real love, Mark. That's ownership." "I loved you." "You loved what I represented. Young, thin, decorative. The minute I became human, with a human body that changed, you were disgusted. Do you know what love actually looks like? It looks like my friend Carol's husband shaving her head when chemo took her hair, telling her she was the most beautiful woman in the world. It looks like my neighbor Tom, who learned to cook when his wife's arthritis made it too painful for her to stand at the stove. It looks like staying when someone needs you, not running because they embarrass you at company picnics." His eyes filled with tears. Real tears this time, not the manipulative ones from his voicemails. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm so fucking sorry." "I know you are. And I hope that means something for your future. But our story is over. You ended it the night you threw your ring on our kitchen counter and called me disgusting. Some words you can't take back. Some abandonment you can't undo." I left him there at the bar and went up to my hotel room. I had a presentation the next morning about early detection of endocrine disorders. My life had purpose now, beyond being someone's acceptable-sized wife. That night, I ordered room service, salmon and vegetables, but also chocolate cake, because I could eat what I wanted now without fear of judgment, and thought about the journey that had brought me here. The pain had been unbearable at times. There were nights I'd wished I could just disappear, cease to exist rather than be the fat woman whose husband found her repulsive. But I'd survived. More than survived. I discovered who I really was when everything else was stripped away. I'd learned that my worth had nothing to do with the number on a scale or the size of my jeans. I'd learned that real love doesn't have weight limits. The conference went beautifully. I shared my story with a room full of medical professionals, emphasizing how my husband's cruelty had actually delayed my diagnosis. If he'd approached my weight gain with concern instead of disgust, we might have discovered the tumor years earlier. How many other people, I wondered, were suffering from undiagnosed conditions while their loved ones blamed them for letting themselves go? After my presentation, a woman approached me. She was probably 300 pounds, tears streaming down her face. "My husband says the same things to me," she whispered, "that I'm disgusting, that I've given up. But I haven't given up. I've tried everything, every diet, every exercise program. Nothing works." I hugged her. When had I become someone who hugged strangers and gave her my doctor's information? "Get tested," I said. Demand they run full panels, thyroid, cortisol, everything. And even if everything comes back normal, you still deserve love and respect. Your worth isn't measured in pounds. She called me 6 months later. Thyroid disorder, treatable. Her husband had apologized, she said, when he learned she'd been sick. They were in counseling. "That's good," I told her, meaning it. Maybe some marriages could survive what mine couldn't. Maybe some people could learn and grow and become better partners. Mark and I were not those people, but perhaps others could be. I thought I'd closed that chapter of my life completely until the package arrived 3 years after our grocery store encounter. No return address, but I recognized Mark's handwriting. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a letter. "Sarah," it read, "I know you don't want to hear from me, and I'll respect that. This is the last time I'll contact you. The check is from my father's life insurance. He passed last month, heart attack. I know you were fond of him and he of you. He never forgave me for leaving you, called me a fool until the day he died. I'm not trying to buy your forgiveness. I know that's not for sale. But I realized I never paid for your medical bills from the surgery and treatment. I know insurance didn't cover everything. I should have been there. I should have held your hand through the scary parts. I should have been the husband I vowed to be. Please don't return the check. Let me do this one small thing right. I'm engaged again. Her name is Monica. She's 38, a social worker, kind in ways I didn't know people could be. I told her about you, about what I did. She made me promise that if she ever gets sick, ever changes, ever needs me, I'll remember the man who left you and choose to be different. I promised her I would. I promise you I will. I hope you found someone who deserves you. Someone who sees that you are always beautiful at every size, in every circumstance. Someone who understands that loving someone means loving all of them, not just the easy parts. Thank you for the lessons you taught me, even though I learned them too late for us. Mark, I cashed the check. Not because I needed the money. My advocacy work had led to a book deal and speaking engagements, but because he was right. He should have paid those bills. He should have been there. I donated half to a Cushing's syndrome research fund and used the rest to start a support group for people whose partners had left them during illness. We meet monthly, sharing stories and healing together. Some are cancer survivors abandoned during chemo. Others have autoimmune conditions, mental health struggles, disabilities. All were told in various cruel ways that their illness made them unworthy of love. We prove each other wrong every meeting. Last month, a new member joined. She was young, maybe 25, crying so hard she could barely speak. Her fiancé had left her after a car accident left her with a limp and scars. He said he didn't sign up for damaged goods, she whispered. The room collectively sighed. We'd all heard variations of those words. Honey, said Margaret, a 60-year-old whose husband left during her MS diagnosis. Let me tell you something. You're not damaged goods. You're a warrior. And someday, someone is going to see those scars and that limp as proof of your strength, not flaws to overlook. But what if no one does? The girl asked. I thought about my journey. The pain, the humiliation, the slow climb back to self-worth. The nights I'd cried myself to sleep in an empty bed, sure I'd die alone and unloved. Then you'll still have yourself, I said. And that's enough. It's more than enough. The love you give yourself, The respect you demand, the life you build, that's what matters. Partners are wonderful, but they're not required for a complete life. She looked skeptical, the way I would have 3 years ago, but she kept coming to meetings. Last week, she walked in without her cane, proud of her physical therapy progress. She's starting to understand that her worth was never in her ability to walk without a limp. As for me, I did find love again, though not in the way I expected. His name is David, and we met at one of my speaking engagements. He's a doctor who specializes in endocrine disorders. He was married once too, to a woman who left him for someone wealthier. She said I'd never give her the life she deserved, he told me on our first date. Turns out she was right. She deserved someone as shallow as she was. David has seen me at every size now. The weight fluctuates. That's the reality of post-Cushing's life. Sometimes I'm a size 8, sometimes a 12, occasionally a 14. He doesn't care. When I asked him about it once, he looked genuinely puzzled. Your body is just the container, he said. I fell in love with the person inside it, the woman who turned her pain into purpose, who helps others heal, who makes me laugh until my sides hurt. Why would I care if the container changes sizes? We're getting married next spring. A small ceremony, just family and close friends. I thought about not inviting my former in-laws, but Mark's mother called me last month. I know I have no right to ask, she said, but I loved you like a daughter for 15 years. I was horrified by what Mark did, ashamed. I raised him better than that, or thought I did. You were always kind to me, Linda. Not kind enough. I should have stood up for you. Should have told him he was being a fool. I was afraid of taking sides, but there was only one right side. Yours. So she'll be at the wedding. Mark won't, obviously. But I heard from Linda that he's doing well with Monica, that he volunteers at a hospital now, reading to patients, that he's become the kind of man who stays good. People can change, they can grow, they can learn from their cruelties and choose to be better. I genuinely hope he's happy. I hope Monica never needs to test his promises. But that's their story, not mine. Mine is about resilience, about learning that love isn't earned through dress sizes or lost through pounds gained. It's about discovering that the worst thing that happens to you might also lead to the best thing, finding your own strength. Sometimes I still have hard days. I'll catch a glimpse of myself in a store window and hear Mark's voice. Disgusting, enormous, too fat to love. But then I remember the truth. I was never too fat to love. He was too shallow to love properly. There's a difference, and it matters. To anyone reading this who's been told they're too much or not enough, too big or too small, too sick or too different to deserve love, they lied to you. Love doesn't have prerequisites. It doesn't require a certain BMI or perfect health or an Instagram-worthy appearance. Real love shows up with soup when you're sick. It holds your hand in hospital waiting rooms. It sees you at your worst and says, I'm not going anywhere. It understands that bodies change, that life is messy, that the promise of for better or worse includes the worst parts. If someone tells you you're too fat to love, too sick to stay with, too changed from who you used to be, let them go. Their leaving isn't your loss, it's theirs. They're the ones who'll spend their lives skimming the surface, never knowing the depth of real connection. You deserve someone who stays. And if that someone is just yourself for now, that's enough. You're enough. You were always enough. The truth Mark discovered didn't destroy him, despite what I thought in my angrier moments. It transformed him, hopefully into someone capable of real love. But more importantly, the truth I discovered about my illness, yes, but more about my own strength, transformed me. I'm no longer the woman who stood crying in her kitchen, believing she was too fat to love. I'm the woman who survived abandonment, major surgery, and rebuilt her life, I'm the woman who helps others find their worth beyond their weight. I'm the woman who knows that love isn't something you earn by being the right size. It's something you deserve simply by being human. And that truth set me free. What would you do if your partner abandoned you during your darkest hour? Forgive them if they came crawling back, or close that door forever? Tell me in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that they are worthy of love exactly as they are. Next week, I'll be sharing another incredible story of betrayal and redemption. You won't believe what happens when a woman discovers her supportive best friend was sabotaging her weight loss journey all along. Until then, remember, you are not too much. You are not too little. You are exactly enough.